Fridays at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. Welcome to the show. There is tons of news. This is going to be a little bit of a shortened week for the 49ers. So practice schedule moved up. The normal Tuesday off day is not going to exist.
Accurate.
So they're going to be out on the field. So it's going to be an exciting day, Alex.
Today is a huge day, and there's tons of news. News aplenty. News abound everywhere, Ant. There's just information coming out of what feels like every orifice of the 49ers right now, but
Orifice.
Wow.
You know,
that's the word of the day. The word of the day. It's not nuance, Jay Hill. You freaking screw. Having himself back-to-back bad weeks of 49ers face-off. I feel bad for him, man. I truly do.
I mean,
Psych.
Not everyone can perform at the highest levels when it means the most, and playoff football has not been kind to the one they call Jay Hill on face-off, apparently.
No, the playoff football.
I'm a referee in that, so I got to keep it down.
You're keeping it down the middle.
Yeah.
I won't. I'm facing off against him, so I'll just call it like I'm seeing it. He's getting mollywopped up and down the field, but you know what? It's fine. That's face-off, right? This isn't face-off. This is daily video. This is a news update, and we got plenty of news. First things first on the docket. Before we get to Fred Warner and Nick Bosa news, because that's the thing everyone cares about the most, and I don't blame you because it's two of the more important things for the 49ers this week. We do need to talk about the fact that the Giants did interview yesterday, both Ryan Carthen and Adam Peters. We'll find out, I imagine, throughout the week, maybe even the next few weeks, what the Giants are doing in that situation. But two 49ers front office personnel have interviewed for the Giants general manager job since Gettleman, the guy who likes the big people, retired. Yeah, I bet. Retired willingly, totally. So we'll see what happens in that situation there. Do you think either one of these guys could end up actually getting that job? I think the Vikings had interviewed, because they're looking for a new general manager as well. They just interviewed someone from the Eagles front office. If that doesn't go well, I imagine there may be some phone calls from the Vikings as well for the 49ers, because personnel-wise, the team you just had with Zimmer and that team, the way it's constructed, maybe it makes sense to go grab from San Francisco, where you can kind of build with some of the similar pieces, maybe find the right coach to maybe structure the team in a very similar way, because you have the running back, you have a quarterback that's similar to Jimmy Garoppolo, some people would say, and you have a talented wide receiver core, so maybe, it's just about getting the right coach, right general manager in to mold this team in that direction, and maybe they could turn a corner quicker, like sooner rather than later. Are you worried that either one of these guys is probably going to end up going, if not both?
Yeah, I think both of them could, get going, because they're going to be very appealing. They know what they're doing, and both are very equipped to handle a GM, responsibility. Both should be GMs in this league eventually. I think that, the Giants are going to be legitimately impressed by both guys. I think Adam Peters, of course, I believe is the better of the two options. However, I don't want him to leave San Francisco, so I'm hopeful that the Giants will find some way to screw this up, the same way they did when they hired Joe Judge. This has been kind of a mistake for them, over just selections of coaches has not been good. So I'm curious what they do as far as the GM, because they're hoping the GM is going to handle all these problems that they've been going through over the years. But you're right, it would be a smart move to possibly marry GM and a coaching candidate. So one of these guys get a job, and then especially if it's Adam Peters, there's a possibility it could be Mike McDaniel or D'Amico Ryans that becomes the head football coach for him if he's the GM. So these are going to be things to watch, and it's going to be interesting developments the whole time. Hopefully we don't lose our front office people or our coaching staff, but it seems like this is inevitable. As somebody or both of them will be gone at some point. And then the only thing we're going to have to show for it is compensatory picks. So we'll see how this develops. We'll see what happens. But these two guys are good options for any football team in the league. And you're right, Minnesota could be an option. New York for sure is an option, because they need to turn these things around. And if Jacksonville was smart, they would turn this around in a big way and get rid of Trent Baalke and hire one of these guys.
I don't know if Jacksonville is smart enough to do that right now. It seems like Trent Baalke has sunk his teeth, his claws, whatever you want to call it, into Khan over there, and is going to be the guy. And just hold on, Jacksonville, because it's going to be a fun not so fun ride for you. But let's get to the news of the day, or the news of the week, and the news that's going to be the news all week long, and which is Fred Warner and Nick Bosa. Both guys, some updates on. Fred has already come out and just stated it. He's already put it out there in the ether. Didn't wait like Agent 3 Jaquiski Tartt did last week, where he gave us a few days and then dropped the knowledge on everybody. Just came out and said it. He'll see everybody Saturday. He's planning on playing. He's planning on being good to go. Kyle Shanahan gave a little bit of an update on him and said it's a low ankle sprain. He re-aggravated an injury he had earlier in the season. So look, I think that's a positive thing for the 49ers. I think it's something that's not going to be the end of the world. Will he be a little limited? He'll be sore. He's going to be sore. He's not going to be necessarily in the best of positions, but they're going to manage him all week long. I would be stunned if by Saturday he's not as close to 100% as you could possibly be.
Yeah, there's going to be no contact in practice this week. It's going to be really relaxed, especially with it being a short week. You don't have the days to recover, so it's just going to be a lot of walkthroughs and that kind of thing. And it's a guy that understands what he needs to do on the football field. When it comes down to it, Fred Warner's body, he can handle everything that's thrown his way. It's the mental part that he's got to be able to handle. So just learning what the Green Bay does and how they're going to react to things, that's where he's going to give the 49ers an edge. You're right, he played through this already once this year where he had the low ankle sprain. He was able to get it done. We all know, and everyone that's had an ankle sprain knows, and low ankle sprain is a lot easier to play with than high ankle sprain. After watching the play back, you could see he just completely rolled his ankle. At some point in his career, he will do this, and it won't even bother him that much. He'll be able to play through it. As somebody that's rolled my ankle 1,000 times, at some point it just rolls and hits the ground, and you're just like, oh, that hurt, and then you move on. But he's a superior athlete. He's just fantastic. I can understand the scare, and I think he's going to be out there. And I think even 85% or 80% of Fred Warner is better than the alternative. So we got some questions in the linebacker room a little bit. I think Fred will be out there. I think Aziz and Dre will be out there. The question is Marcel Harrison, that Achilles tendonitis, going to be ready to go? If he is going to be, the Achilles tendonitis is no joke. So if they can get this thing calmed down and he's able to play, that could be good depth for the 49ers. But Flanagan Fowles has played very well in his time that he's filled in along the way.
Agreed. He really has. But I think the biggest impact that Marcel Harris would have would just be in the special teams room.
Huge, yeah.
It would be absolutely gigantic for this team. Nzocha had a big kind of boo-boo air, and you got to think, maybe they're not reconsidering Nzocha, but just sitting there going, hey, it'd be really nice to have Marcel Harris, and you don't have to necessarily go to Nzocha. That's uncharacteristic of him. I don't expect that to be something that would happen again for Mark Nzocha.
It won't.
He's a veteran guy.
Yeah, it won't.
Right? He's going to learn. Yeah. He's going to move on. He's going to grow. So I'm not too concerned about that. It's really just about if Marcel Harris is healthy. If he's healthy and ready to go, then great. That's a great thing for the 49ers, because you have a guy that can go out there and show he can cover when you need him to at times if something were to happen to Aziz or something happens to Dre, or maybe you just want to spell Fred for a series, right? You don't want to have him go out there, especially if the Niners have the lead and they're going to sling the ball around. Maybe you just like to get him off the field. He doesn't have to run around and cover as much on this series here. You turn to a Marcel Harris for a drive. You turn to him for 4 or 5 plays and just, try and give Fred a break. Those are options if Marcel Harris is healthy and good to go, but it's all about getting that Achilles tendonitis calmed down. That's not going to be easy. That is not going to be an easy task.
No, it's not. And you know what? Sometimes maybe they will take Fred off the field and leave Aziz and Dre out there in nickel situations.
Possibly.
That way they can leave Fred in when it's obvious rundowns. We'll see. We'll see how this all plays out. I think Fred's going to go out there and try to play every single snap of every single down.
Agreed.
He knows how important this is. He knows how hard it is to beat Green Bay in Green Bay. This is playoff football. You don't want to be sitting on the sidelines when the end of the year comes. So he's going to be out there. He's going to give it all he's got. And I was definitely happy to hear not only was it a lower ankle sprain, but that he fully intends to play on Saturday.
Agreed. And Kyle feels pretty good about it. They're going to reevaluate him today. They're evaluating him today.
Yeah.
But he feels like, he played through this early in the season. It was something very similar. So there's not a whole lot of worry that he is not going to be good to go. But there are still questions in the air about Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa's situation and what's going on there, Ant, is, well, it's concerning because it's concussion protocol. And his dad went on KNBR with Papa in London and talked about how he's dealing with some soreness on Monday as well. So we'll see what happens today. They're going to evaluate him all week long. If he's able to get any sort of limited practice in today, I think that's probably a good thing for Nick Bosa and the 49ers. But I don't expect there to be a limited practice today. I expect him to rest today. I expect him to rest on Wednesday. And I don't expect him to do potentially anything in terms of being on the field practice-wise until closer to Thursday or Friday.
Yeah, I don't care if he does any practice. I really don't. All we want is for him to be cleared on Saturday. As long as he is cleared for that game Saturday night, and maybe it is going to go all the way up until Saturday until he gets fully cleared and off the concussion protocol. But you know at this point in the season and his career, he can get out there and perform at a high level. So you just want him out there in those situations, and Green Bay's going to have to prepare for him because you're not going into a game when you didn't prepare to play against Nick Bosa. So either way, they're going to be prepared for him. And I'm hoping that he's going to pass through concussion protocol. The way his dad made it sound was like the whiplash action was actually a little bit worse than the actual head injury from having his head bent back. And everyone that knows that can see that. So, I mean, he's going to have some muscles and stuff that are going to, relax. But once they do, he'll be okay. And then after that, it's just, I mean, there will be times, down the road where it's going to bug him a little bit. But, these guys get the best care that they can get from the trainers. From the staff there, so he'll be in good hands, and I think he'll get taken care of. And I'm hoping he's going to be cleared. And I'm very optimistic by what I heard from the players after the game. All of them saying, "Oh no, he's good. He's going to be good to go." And then also what his dad said. I think we all can be cautiously optimistic that Nick Bosa will be ready to go on Saturday.
I think we can be. And Kyle Shanahan said as much. He said, we're being pretty optimistic with it. I've seen that a few times, and he seems like he's in a pretty good spot right now, but I'm not going to be the one who judges that. He's going to obviously leave that up to the medical professionals, which is smart from Kyle Shanahan, number one. But number two, he also didn't get to personally talk to him on the plane ride home. And he hasn't really had a in-depth conversation with him on Monday because he's letting these guys rest, and he's putting in his work right now. He's getting the game plan ready, and it's really focused and dialed in, Ant. You're good. He's focused and dialed in on this matchup with Lafluer and the Packers, which is probably what he should be doing right now. Let Nick Bosa, get the care that he needs. Let him get taken care of. And that's right. Nick Bosa, not Joey Bosa. Shocking, I know. It's hard for some people. But look, he's going to let the trainers handle this. He's going to let the doctors handle this. They're going to let the neurologist take a look at him, go through his thing. And you know what? Even Ian Rappaport doesn't know, but he won't say that he doesn't know, Ant. He's not going to say that he doesn't know. What he's going to let everyone know is that it's impossible. It's just impossible to know. Ian, it's okay to say that you don't have the answer because you don't have the answer. It's fine, my guy. Just let yourself say it. I don't know. You don't have to know everything, right? You don't have to be, Woj, dropping Woj bombs, Rappaport reports,
It's the rap sheet.
The rap sheet, my apologies.
Yeah.
You don't have to, have all of the answers. It's okay to be like everybody else, my guy. You put your pants on one leg at a time, just like the rest of us.
What about the people that put them on two at a time?
Those people, Ant, are just savages.
Yeah.
Absolute savages. If you're able to just straight up hold the pant legs up, jump up in the air, and then right on.
There are different techniques that you can do.
I mean, there are different techniques. I mean, you could sit on the bed and do it that way. You're not a savage if you do it that way. You're just being silly.
You were a savage.
You're just being silly. I'm just saying, you're being silly.
Yeah.
But look, I think the Bosa thing is the fact that Kyle Shanahan said we're optimistic with it. I haven't heard that terminology this year, Ant, which gives me hope and faith, because if he said there's an outside chance, you and I both know that means not playing.
Well, early in the week, especially, you want to say optimistic, no matter if you're optimistic or not, because you want to give that idea to the Green Bay Packers that they need to prepare for Nick Bosa.
Accurate.
Because if they prepare for him, I know it makes it a little bit easier if he's not out there. But at least they spent some of their time preparing for him and not preparing for a world where he's not out there. And I think the 49ers need him out there. I think he will get out there. But there's a little bit of cautious optimism, but I think we're trending in the right direction. And if Nick Bosa can be out there, he's going to be out there. Of course, what Rappaport is saying is true. Nobody knows what exactly is going to happen with a head injury. It can go all over the place. You're hopeful just the way I was about Mitch Wisnowski, and that seemed to work out.
Agreed. It did seem to work out. We'll see what happens with Bosa. This is an important time of the year. We'll see how he's feeling. We'll see how he feels he can push through, and if he can clear all his protocols, all his tests, the stuff with doctors that he's got to do. All that stuff is going to take place, and some of it's with team doctors, and some of it's with independent third-party people who don't necessarily would have a bias in Nick Bosa playing on Saturday, but would definitely have a bias in Nick Bosa being healthy. So he's going to have to go through all those hoops and jump through them. But there's some other players that are dealing with some other things, and I don't know if they don't have necessarily the hoops that Nick Bosa has to go through, but they do have some stuff holding them up, and are going to have to do some serious managing of issues. One of those guys is Jordan Willis, who had himself one heck of a game. played phenomenal. Yet again, a lot of hits on the quarterback, a lot of pressures on Dak Prescott, sack as well. Suffered a high ankle sprain, which could keep him out against the Packers, is what Kyle Shanahan is saying. I don't like hearing that, because I think Willis has played great all year since he's been back and since he's been activated. And the depth is nice, especially with the concerns in the air about Nick Bosa.
Yeah, the rotation would change for sure.
That's great. Yeah.
Jordan Willis was able to play throughout the game, even with the injury. And even if you have Nick Bosa back, if you're missing Jordan Willis, it does change who you're going to have out there in situations. I'm guessing that would mean the activation, Maurice Hurst would be out there and active to play, and Arden Key would be moving back to the outside. Arden Key is more dynamic when he plays inside. He did play outside and still get involved, but you saw early in the game the effect that Arden Key had when he was playing on the inside, when he spun off and he got absolutely tackled. And yet Mike McCarthy was still upset about that. It's like, suplexes are not,
they're okay, Ant.
Yeah,
they're just okay.
So I think it does change those things, and I really do wish we had Jordan Willis. He's able to set the edge. He's one of those guys that has a good motor. So I mean the rotation changes, but we'll see. We'll see how much limitations he has. But a high ankle sprain is usually a few weeks at least. So Jordan Willis might not be around until the Super Bowl, if the 49ers were to make it that far.
True.
That's kind of where you're looking at his, impact being brought back. Or, I mean, he did play through it. Could he play through it again? We'll see how much it limits him. We all know a high ankle sprain is difficult to get through. So I'm curious, and I'm curious what the corresponding moves end up being with Maurice Hurst ready to go.
It's very true. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be concerning. It's definitely something to keep an eye on, and it definitely impacts one of the strengths of this team, which is the depth at your D-line position and just the way everyone's been playing. It's going to shuffle some pieces around. It may put some people in some positions where maybe they're not playing necessarily their best spot, and Arden Key having to move back to the outside, but it's all about getting the job done. If Arden Key can do enough on the outside, then it is what it is, and you lose maybe something on the interior at times, but it's a rotation. So there will be times where he can play on the inside and you have someone else out there. It's just maybe there's less of those opportunities and less of those situations, which may actually bode better for Arden, because he knows when he goes on that interior, I don't know how many more of these opportunities I'm going to get. It's time to get after it.
And you know what? If Bosa's playing, it's kind of irrelevant, even though you want Jordan Willis, because you do have Charles Omenihu. And
Charles Omenihu had himself a game.
He did. He played fantastic. With him and Samson Ebukam to go with, Nick Bosa, you're going to be okay on the edge. You can play, enough guys that you can rotate through and be fine. But, yeah, Jordan Willis will be missed to a point. Maurice Hurst would add in the interior and obviously kick Arden Key out for certain situations. We'll see. We'll see. That could also be times when Eric Armstead kicks out and they leave Arden Key on the inside.
We've seen that the last few weeks.
Yeah.
There's been a couple snaps where Eric has moved out so they can get a little bit bigger bodies out there.
Yeah, if Bosa's playing and Charles Omenihu is still coming off the bench and Arden Key is another guy coming off the bench, I think you're feeling confident about your defensive line rotation, which is so important because who's going to be rushing against David Bakhtiari? I think there's ways they can take advantage of him. And Charles Omenihu, you can see the improvement already from working with Chris Kasarik and Darryl Tapp. His edge pass rushing is a lot better. He's
beat
definitely
Tyron Smith a couple times.
Yeah, able to bend the corner on him, and so it's been impressive. Let's see, what happens. Right now, it seems like just next man up. And let's not forget, if it is a defensive end, there is always the possibility it could be Alex Barrett. They have him sitting on the practice squad. He's a guy that's brought a lot of pressure off the edge. I still think it'll be Maurice Hurst, but at least keep an eye on Barrett and see if he's somebody that maybe they make available from the practice squad.
Very accurate. And Talanoa Hufanga, Marcel Harris were two guys that were inactive on Sunday. Both of them are kind of in a similar category. They have chances to practice today at practice. Obviously, we talked about the Achilles tendonitis already with Marcel Harris. Huff still dealing with that same knee issue. They're trying to get them back out there to practice. They're day-to-day this week. We'll see what happens there. It'd be nice if you can add Talanoa Hufanga back into this rotation because it allows you to do different things with your coverages and bring Jaquiski Tartt down into the box, bring Jimmy Ward down in the box, maybe run some more man situations with both of them out there if you need it. If Green Bay decides to go 5 wide and empty it out, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think Hufanga is somebody that's important to this team. I just don't know if he's that important against Green Bay. Green Bay's weapons are wide receivers. They don't have big time tight ends. I know they got a tight end that's pretty good, but Tanyan's not playing. So you're talking about running backs out of the backfield and then wide receivers. So Hufanga is maybe not the answer there. And you have Jaquiski Tartt and Jimmy Ward that just gave up 0 yards receiving against Dallas. You want these guys out on the field all the time. Yeah, you want Hufanga to be ready. You want him on special teams. You want him in case one of these guys go down. But right now, the two safeties that you need on the field all the time are Jimmy Ward and Jaquiski Tart. They're going to give you your best opportunity to win football games. They are one of the better safety tandems in the league at this point. And now your entire secondary has been stabilized. Those two guys stabilized it. The return of Emmanuel Mosley helped it, and Ambry Thomas has taken it to another level. This is a better secondary than we saw week 3 against Green Bay.
Agreed.
And that's saying a lot. So I think that this is going to be an impressive game. And I think that Hufanga would be nice to have back, but I don't think it's the end of the world either if he's not ready to go yet.
I agree with you there. It's not the end of the world. And your secondary is extremely improved. And your pass rush is improved. You're deeper now than you were then because the guys then that were rotating in weren't playing at the level that they're playing right now.
Yeah.
It really just comes down to Nick Bosa's health. If Nick Bosa's healthy, then your defense is looking like a situation where you're going to be at 100%. And what we saw this last weekend against the Cowboys was a 49ers defense at 100%, taking one of the best offenses in the league and holding them to 17 points. If you're healthy and 100%, again, going into Green Bay, you feel like you can replicate that performance. And you know what? You may need that kind of performance. You may need that kind of performance if you want to beat this football team and make it easier on your offense.
Yeah, I think you can also, against Green Bay, just the way they're built and constituted, you can definitely scheme it up to take certain guys away. The 49ers' focus is going to be on Davante Adams. It's easier to focus on Davante Adams if you're able to stop this running game of Green Bay with the front seven. If they can do the same thing that they did to Dallas and stop that run game with the front seven and allow those secondary players the comfort to play over the top and help Ambry Thomas or help Emmanuel Mosley, then they can bracket Davante Adams. And then they can go ahead and accordingly, go against the rest of the guys, whether it's Scantling or it's Lazard or whatever long names that the Green Bay Packers have come up with. And they really haven't had Amari Rodgers come out. He hasn't really showed up in a big way.
Nope.
So we'll see. We'll see what the 49ers do, but I think that they could take him away. And the reason it all started is because that front seven and that pass rush can get home with 4.
That's true. You can get home with 4 with this defense, which is it's incredible, and it's important. And it makes the defense's job a lot easier when that 4 is able to get home and win. Listen, last time we played, we said, they had injuries to the O-line, feast. And we didn't feast. And a lot of that was because Aaron Rodgers was getting the ball out in 2.5 seconds because you had a weak secondary and they just went after it. If they're not able to do that this time around, and you give this D-line, even though you're playing a much healthier Green Bay O-line at this point in time, we just saw a formidable O-line in the Cowboys. And you're able to get 14 hits on Dak, 5 sacks. That's back-to-back weeks with 5 sacks. I think you and I both believe, right, this group, when healthy, doing the things it needs to do with the secondary, playing competent, good football, DeMeco Ryans disguising coverages, making the quarterback have to hold on to the ball at times, you can get after anyone in the league.
Yeah. I think the way that the 49ers played in the wild card round, this defense is the best defense going right now in the playoffs. I think they are. I think they're just a head and shoulders above everyone else. They're going to have to prove it consistently, and the 49ers offense is going to have to help them along the way. But yeah, if we're going to have Nick Bosa and Fred Warner back with the health that we have in the secondary, I think, it's the best defense. And I think it's going to be tough for anyone to beat. Now, Aaron Rodgers, he's tough, period. He's going to put a lot of stress on this 49ers defense. But yeah, they can get it done as long as they execute the things that we've talked about. It is the 49ers formula. They figured out during the season what their formula was to win. They've got personnel in the right places. They're pulling the right strings from the coordinators. And so let's see if they can go get it done against Green Bay. They overcame some mistakes against Dallas. You're not going to be able to do that against the Packers. But maybe the 49ers are built the right way to beat Lafluer and the Packers.
They might be, Ant. They might be. But one of the guys who's got to play well in order to accomplish that is Jimmy Garoppolo.
Ooh.
And Jimmy Garoppolo, Ant, is dealing with a shoulder sprain. He should be able to go in practice this week. It was to his right throwing shoulder. Shanahan said he should be fine for practice. He apparently did it in the second quarter, had to play through some pain and other stuff. He ended up checking out all right. Just a slight shoulder sprain, should be good to go for Tuesday's practice. But this now brings up a narrative with Jimmy Garoppolo that people are tired of, as Jimmy is always hurt. Jimmy is constantly getting hurt. And every time Jimmy has a bad game, there's an excuse. There's always an excuse, and something happened, and that's the reason. But if he sprained his throwing shoulder, doesn't it explain the way, basically, he felt like he changed after halftime, right? You went into half with a shoulder sprain in the second quarter. It got a little stiff. Listen, there were times during the game where it was 1st and 10 for the Cowboys, and I saw Jimmy Garoppolo throwing on the sideline, and I kept going, dude, why are you throwing? It's first down. Why aren't you going through film? He's trying to keep the shoulder loose. He's
Right.
trying to be able to keep the shoulder loose, grip the football, all that stuff. Look, I think it kind of makes sense why he played the way he played. And now the question is this another thing that he can manage?
Yeah, it's something he can manage. I'm less worried about it than like the UCL tear.
True.
But I think that this is, something that Jimmy's playing through. He's playing through things that, don't feel good. But he's got to learn how to make these things happen, get it done. And some of these throws were overthrows, and maybe he thought he needed to give more effort, to what he was doing with that shoulder. If the shoulder feels like it's resistant, sometimes you're going to throw a little bit harder. You're going to push through it. As someone with extreme shoulder injuries through the years,
Well, it may have changed his angle, right? And if you're changing your angle as well, plus the thumb on top of that, you get underneath the football.
well, he was underneath the football for sure. That's why
definitely
That's why he overthrew Trent Sherfield, and then when he let it rip against Brandon Ayuk, he definitely let that one get away from him. He wasn't able to pull that down. So yeah, I mean it makes sense, but it also brings up questions, right? It's like, dude, you got to be able to execute in those situations. I know you're hurt, but go get it done. So then can he get it done against Green Bay? Do you now have concern about Jimmy Garoppolo being able to operate this offense? Is this shoulder going to be concerning and hold him back? Because we've seen it, right? When Jimmy Garoppolo is being efficient and not turning over the football, the 49ers are one of the best football teams in the league.
Accurate.
When Jimmy starts struggling and turning over the football, all of a sudden the other team has an opportunity to come back. And that's exactly what happened against Dallas. And you can't afford to let that happen against Aaron Rodgers. Because he's not scrambling for 14 yards and running out of time. He's taking shots at the end zone, and that's just a scary proposition.
Yeah, Lafleur is not a dumb face, poopy head who's going to sit there and go, you know what I'd like? I would like one shot at the end zone from about 15 yards closer, rather than just two shots at the end zone, and potentially three, depending on the play that you call, right? And the situation, or if you get a penalty or anything like that. Just silly stuff from the Cowboys. But look, I am concerned. Personally, I'm concerned about the situation and what it means. Jimmy is a guy who is prone to get hurt. He's also prone to make mistakes. But there's one thing, Ant, that makes me feel better about this, and it's Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan has consistently showed all season long, whether you want to admit it or not, as a 49ers fan, that he is pulling the right strings, making the right decisions, and putting this team in the best possible situation to win football games, despite some of the shortcomings and other issues that have plagued them, whether it was early in the season or late. He still has confidence in Jimmy Garoppolo, and he said as much. He thinks Jimmy's been unbelievable this year. He thinks, he's made his mistakes, he's done his things, but he's always bounced back. He doesn't let the mistakes deter him and make him a different person or a different quarterback. He thinks a lot of the criticism has been unfair of Jimmy, and obviously it's been kind of heightened and elevated by the Trey Lance situation. And I think Kyle understands that and recognizes that some of his decisions, right, in the front office's decisions in going out and getting a young and dynamic, athletic, sky is the limit sort of quarterback in Trey Lance has put Jimmy in this unfair position of being heavily scrutinized and heavily criticized for everything that he possibly does. And look, I think he's answered the call every time that we've needed him to answer the call. It wasn't great from Jimmy Garoppolo this past weekend, but it also isn't the worst game I've ever seen Jimmy Garoppolo play. So if Jimmy Garoppolo is not playing the worst football that I've ever seen Jimmy Garoppolo play, and he's dealing with all of this stuff, and Kyle still has faith in him, then I have to believe that, right? Kyle and Jimmy are going to get this figured out. Jimmy's going to be a better version of himself coming into this next game, because that's all you want as a team, right? We've talked about this constantly. You're just trying to be better than you were the day before, right? That's all you want, is to be better than you were the day before. And last 2 weeks ago against the Rams, Jimmy struggled early, played great late. This last week against the Cowboys, Jimmy played great early, struggled late. Okay, I mean, hail of two halves, yes. Something kind of played into the second half, him not playing as well with the injury to the shoulder, but they improved on the first part, right? They fixed one of the problems. Can Kyle and Jimmy now fix this and have him put together 4 great quarters when you need it most against Green Bay? I believe they can.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy's going to have to do it. No matter who's the quarterback of the 49ers, you're always going to be scrutinized because we've had, 2 of the greatest quarterbacks of all time play for our franchise. And so everything that happens, if Jimmy Garoppolo wins the Super Bowl in 2019, a lot of that scrutiny goes away. Ask Steve Young. Steve Young was scrutinized more than, any quarterback maybe in the history of the 49ers because he wasn't living up to Joe's hype, or not really Joe's hype, but what Joe
Joe's
had done.
greatness.
Yeah, Joe's greatness. And he had to win a Super Bowl, and then once he did, everyone kind of relaxed on him, and then even when he made mistakes, it was like, yeah, but Steve can win the big one. So you have to go out there and prove that you can do that, and it's inevitable for Trey as well. When he takes over, he will get a little bit of time where he's expected to grow and learn, and everyone will be understanding. And then at some point, it's like, okay, you got to go be great now. You've got to go do what Joe and Steve did. Do I think that Kyle Shanahan can manage Jimmy Garoppolo and put him in situations to be successful with an injured shoulder and an injured thumb? I do. Do I believe Jimmy Garoppolo will grit this out, figure it out, and be able to get the ball down the field where he needs to get it to? I do. I think it's all going to be predicated on the run game though. I mean, making it easy for Jimmy Garoppolo, making his reads more defined, Kyle Shanahan moving people in the backfield. All of it just plays into what Jimmy does well. Get the ball into your playmakers' hands and let them make plays. Green Bay's going to have to prove they can stop them. But Jimmy can't have any of these oops moments. Those are not going to be things that work out well for him. I will say this: in this game against the Cowboys, he ripped some absolutely fantastic throws. Mm-hmm. He's rolling to his right and he whips that one to Brandon Ayuk, and Ayuk snags it out of the air and gets the first down. Reaches for the first down. Was an absolute dart, high and outside where you're supposed to throw it. Brandon Ayuk made a fantastic catch on it. But those are the things that Jimmy can do. The problem is the inconsistencies. That's what frustrates everyone. If Jimmy Garoppolo didn't miss wide open receivers and didn't overthrow receivers for interceptions, and receivers, their interceptions were on tightly contested passes, I think people would be a little bit more understanding. So Jimmy, the key is this week: don't overthrow wide open receivers. Make sure you hit those receivers, and if you do, the 49ers have an opportunity to beat Green Bay. But do I think the shoulder played into it some? Of course it did. I mean, as we all know what shoulder injuries can do to, throwing the football. I once injured my shoulder enough that I could throw as hard as I wanted to and the ball would go 5 yards. It's a real thing. It's always concerning. But let's hope he can push through and be able to be accurate enough to get the ball out, because a Jimmy that plays well means the 49ers play well.
Agreed, Ant. But you are right. It definitely starts with the run game. And look, there's a difference right now between... This is why I have so much faith right now in Jimmy. This is a guy who has a lot of criticism being thrown his way, has constantly said team all season long, despite the criticism. And right now in this moment, where it's win or go home, there is no tomorrow. When people are calling him out about certain things and specific things, he didn't say team. He said me, on me. I put the team in a bad spot. The team stepped up for me in a big way, and I got to be better. He owned the Trent Sherfield pick after the game.
He did it to Trent Sherfield on the sidelines as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. He mouthed it. He walked by and said, "Hey, Trent, that's on me."
100%. Yeah. And he did it. He owned up for the Trent Williams false start as well. That's on me. I got a little too excited. I got to be better. I was overzealous there, I think was the quote he told to Mr. King. Look, I think this is the big thing right now with Jimmy Garoppolo. He's taken a lot of criticism this year, and there's been a lot of people, we've seen it, who have said, Jimmy's not owning his mistakes. He keeps talking about how the team needs to keep playing better. And you and I kept saying, well, Jimmy's making his mistakes, but it seems like that's the message coming out from everybody.
Yeah.
And it's still the message. The team can do better things. George Kittle said that after the game. We need to get better at some things, but, a win's a win in the playoffs. But I like Jimmy Garoppolo coming out in that moment at the end of the game and just being like, hey, those are on me. I got to fix those things. It's no excuses. It's none of this. It's none of that. I know what I'm dealing with. I know what my limitations are right now. And I have to play to my strengths, right? Not putting myself in positions where those weaknesses can affect the team and negatively impact the team. And I think he's going to keep doing that. I did like him also saying, and all the noise out there, everything, keep it coming. It fuels me. This is a guy who is embracing it right now, enjoying and taking this ride with these guys potentially one last time. We'll see if it's one or more even after it with this week in this game. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, how this continues to keep rolling for the 49ers, because this is a huge opportunity that's in front of them with this Green Bay Packers. Two coaches, again, extremely familiar with one another and what they like to do, and from the same coaching tree, from the same lineage. God, what a crazy season. It feels like the 49ers have not had an easy path. Before the year, we talked about the schedule, and we said, hey, we were having trouble early in the year finding wins for the 49ers as long as they're healthy, right? It was
finding losses.
Finding losses for the 49ers. Well, guess what? We had some injuries early. The team had to overcome a lot of adversity, And then some of the teams on the schedule, they end up having to play late. Significantly better football teams than we expected.
Yeah, I think it's always hard finding loss. But one thing I know is maybe the quarterback position isn't as important as we thought, because Deebo Samuel apparently is the key to victory for the 49ers. Because when Deebo runs the ball more than 5 times in a game, Alex, the 49ers are 7-0. Deebo Samuel is ripping off a touchdown every 7.5 attempts, carries. So the key is getting Deebo Samuel the ball, right? I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo's play is irrelevant at this point. It just comes down to Deebo ball. Get Deebo the ball as many times as possible. I do think we're going to see a little bit of an increase in Deebo's carries out of the backfield. The dynamic ability that he has with the ball in his hands. That run, I watched it getting broke down by a running back, and he was talking about the fact that Deebo, cuts the cut that he makes, not only to put his foot in the ground with the patience to get upfield, but then to cut back again, back to the sideline, back to the pylon. He goes, there are running backs in this league that can't do that. Deebo Samuel is a special talent, and apparently all you have to do is give the ball to him 5 times, and you're 100% going to win the game.
That stat is nuts.
So guess what the key to victory is.
Listen, is it getting Deebo Samuel the ball 5 times, Ed? Is that what it is?
It makes sense to me.
It's feeling like it.
Yeah.
Look, you and I joked when we heard that stat. I was like, "There's no way that's accurate." You went through all of it. I was like, "That's like the easiest thing to do in the world."
Yeah.
Right? It's the easiest thing in the world to do. Kyle Shanahan could easily accomplish that. There's definitely more to it than that. You and I both know that, because it comes down to everyone blocking on those 5 touches, those 7.5 touches, executing. And then you tip your hat to the team, because when Deebo is carrying the football and carrying the rock and is scoring a touchdown on one out of every 7.5 touches, that means, and it's definitely more than one of those 7.5 touches, but at least one time in those 7.5 touches where you have 11 guys who execute to a T, and perfectly.
Yeah, it's also, perfect timing on those calls.
Also true.
Kyle Shanahan has to catch up in the right defense, doing and then be able to
right
execute
personnel
it the right way.
Yep.
And also where those plays are going to happen, right? He's usually just outside the red zone. He's had a lot of dynamic runs, and those things can change the game. And Kyle talked about the difference, having to kind of balance between getting the ball into Deebo's hands and getting the ball into Elijah Mitchell's hands, because he believes they're both dynamic with the football in his hands, and he's not wrong. The vision and explosion out of those two guys afford you some opportunities to make some big plays in the running game, and they ran the ball for 169 yards. That's a dominant run game. I know there was times where they were stopped, for 2, 1 yard, 3 yards, whatever it is. But those explosive plays can definitely change a drive and change a game, and Deebo Samuel proved that, because when that interception by K'Wan Williams happened, he went up to Kyle Shanahan and he said, "Hey, give me the ball, I got you." And Kyle Shanahan said, I knew he came up to me and said something, and he was like, all right, I'm going to give him the ball. And he went and got it done. So I think that this is something you're finding out. You also had George Kittle, I guess, during the game going up to Kyle Shanahan and being like, run the ball, run it again. These guys are displaying an attitude, kind of what they did in 2019. They know what it takes to win, and this run game's a big part of it. And part of it is Deebo Samuel being that alternate to Elijah Mitchell because of his explosiveness. You missed it with Raheem Mostert being out. You're getting it back with Deebo Samuel in the back.
100%, 100,000%. It's going to be interesting how you're able to balance that out. Kyle said it was a problem, but it's a good problem to have, obviously. And I agree. I think most 49ers fans agree with that sentiment right there.
Yeah.
But look, it's going to be a huge challenge, and Kyle thinks it's going to be at that as well for the 49ers. He said as much. This is a situation where it's going to be, as of right now, predicted to be 3 degrees when kickoff starts on Saturday. So that is going to be a cold football game. The atmosphere in Lambeau is always crazy. Just Niners-Packers games are just crazy atmosphere. There was a lot of Green Bay fans in Levi's the last time we played. Now, it wasn't a Green Bay takeover. It wasn't a Packers fan takeover. But, when your Niners are playing at home, you're just expecting all red and no anything else. And Packers fans travel well, and they don't have to travel. They're going to be at home. Niner fans are going to travel well. This is going to be a very interesting game, and you have 2 coaches, again, like we talked about, and that are extremely familiar with one another. Again, Kyle Shanahan, don't outcoach yourself this game. Make Matt Lafluer go out and stop the things he needs to stop, and once he shows you what he wants to do, then start making your adjustment.
I know Kyle Shanahan says these 2 are cool, but the mannerisms, they each displayed in that last game tell me that there's a little bit of a problem there. Matt Lafluer, in the first half, said F those guys. after a touchdown. That's not something you normally do talking about your friends. That's something you do when you're angry at somebody and you want to get them back. The only problem is they did it during the regular season. Sometimes winning a regular season game is not what's the most important. And he went out and he showed his hand, and he had help. He had to have help because they knew everything that Kyle Shanahan and Mike McDaniel wanted to do. I believe that they got a little help from little brother. He had an understanding of how Kyle, and Mike McDaniel attacked them.
Do you think you're going to have a lot of help from little brother again?
It won't matter now because that already used up its currency. It's gone. That first half of that game, they used up all that currency to get that win.
It's very true because the second half did not go Green Bay's way.
No, because Kyle Shanahan then realized what was going on and adjusted accordingly.
Correct.
So now we're going in with an even deck because Lafluer is not going to be able to figure out what Kyle's doing. And he can, if he's not going to be able to go back, we did this in the first half and duplicate that. You can't do that. Kyle's going to come out with a different plan. Not to mention, week 3, the run game was different. Didn't have Elijah Mitchell. Deebo wasn't carrying the ball in the backfield. Tom Compton wasn't the right tackle. You weren't executing at a high level like they are now.
In fact, the offense was out of sync in week 3. I mean, it was out of sync the week before in week 2. It was not in sync in week 3, and we didn't see the Niners offense get into sync until about 5-6 weeks later.
Well, it kind of got rolling in that second half. I mean, they scored 28 points against that Green Bay defense. The problem for Green Bay is they struggle to stop the run. And the 49ers were able to get, a decent, I think they got like 81 yards in that game. Trey Sermon, I believe, carried the ball like 19 times. It was definitely a different type of attack. 49ers are going to have to come at them in a different way, and I believe this is going to be an interesting matchup. As fun as it was to see Kyle Shanahan go against Dan Quinn because it's offense versus defense, I believe it's even more exciting to see how they attack each other offensively. Whenever you have two offensive minds going there, who's going to be the better defensive coordinator on the other side, and who has a better understanding of what the other coach does? I think Kyle Shanahan knows exactly how Lafluer wants to attack. They know the skill sets of the players that are there in Green Bay. So DeMeco Ryans could be the most capable and studied guy that there's going to be going in this game because Kyle understands defenses in a very high way, or very big way. So this is going to be a fun matchup. I'm excited about it. I hope there is a little bit of aggression. I hope they're not cool.
I don't want them to be cool, to be honest with you. And I felt that way watching that game too. I remember that F those guys moment and watching them just being like, dude, Lafluer, it's the first quarter, my guy. You got a lot of time there, man. And even after the game, the look on his face, the way he approached Kyle, that was not the look of a friend approaching a friend after a hard-fought game in which, your quarterback outdueled theirs and, you got the last laugh. It was the look of someone who was like, I got something to prove. You tried to get my quarterback. You're trying to ruin what I have over here, sort of thing. And it's like, okay, hey, okay, bro. All right, you do you. But look, this rivalry between the Niners and Packers is going to be escalated now. Because now you're facing off in the playoffs yet again with two coaches that are familiar with each other and a coach who obviously feels in Matt LaFleur like Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch were maybe not tampering with Aaron Rodgers, but we're trying to ruin whatever it is they're trying to build over there in Green Bay with Rodgers, with Davante Adams, their culture, the development of Jordan Love. They obviously feel a certain way about it. LaFleur definitely feels a certain way about it. And so this is personal for him. It's not just a rivalry and your friend. It's personal. And when you make things personal like that, the stakes get elevated. It becomes much more it's sort of an intense situation. We'll see how the Niners respond to that. Because they have to feel some of that tension, and they're going to be going back and watching film of that game from earlier this year. I wonder if they'll pick up on any of it.
Yeah, I think they're going to pick up a lot of stuff. I guarantee it. Mike McDaniel, I guarantee, has been breaking this down. But yeah, I kind of attribute this to the fact that LaFleur saw his girlfriend flirting with Kyle Shanahan, and he didn't believe that Kyle Shanahan was a better situation. But no matter what, he's right. He's always going to be the guy that's behind Kyle Shanahan. He's in his shadow. Until he wins a Super Bowl. So he has that little bit of chip on his shoulder. But Aaron Rodgers was definitely flirting with the 49ers, a 49ers team that struggled in 2020, but yet was still more appealing to him than the Green Bay Packers. That couldn't sit well with the head coach, who we know struggled to get a good relationship with Aaron Rodgers, but now that they didn't want to lose that. I think that there's going to be a lot of little funny things that are going to go along the way. I'm sure these guys are going to be asked about it a lot during the week. But when it comes down to it, X's and O's wise, this is going to be an absolute chess match, an absolute battle. And let's see who has, the bigger guns when it comes down to it. I think that Kyle Shanahan's going to be more equipped and ready. I think him and Mike McDaniel are going to get after LaFleur. LaFleur doesn't have, the same, I guess, advantages that he had in the first one because he had little brother to understand how Kyle had attacked before. Now that curtain has been raised. So let's see if he can do it on his own. He definitely has the tools to get it done.
He definitely
Green Bay
does.
Packers is a good football team. They're really good. At any moment, they could strike and beat this 49ers team. I just believe the 49ers are good enough to beat them as well.
I agree with you. And look, I think a lot of people feel like the Niners are just a bad matchup. And we said this, right? If the Niners make the playoffs, nobody wants to play San Francisco. The way they're playing at the end of the season, you just don't want to deal with that if you're a coach. You really don't. A team that can run the football, that plays physical, why would you want to face that team whose defense is healthy and the D coordinator who's, basically got the group dialed in? I mean, he's got his finger on the pulse. Kyle seems to have the finger on the pulse of the offense. You don't want to play that team. But are the Niners actually a bad matchup for the Packers? Dan Orlovsky says yes. He's in fact said, and if you had to basically write out and list all the characteristics of things a team needs to beat the Green Bay Packers, the Niners check all those boxes. Ryan Clark went on to say after that can we just be honest? The Niners aren't a bad matchup for the Green Bay Packers. They're just a good football team. They're just a really good football team, and everyone needs to just start acknowledging that they're just a really good football team, and Kyle Shanahan's a really good coach. Ryan Clark, 100% agreed with you, but they're still a really bad matchup for the Packers because they can run the football, because they're physical. They do things that other teams in the league aren't built the way the 49ers are built. The 49ers are built like they're their own thing, right? Like no one else in the league does what San Francisco does. A lot of other teams in the league pick off of what other teams do and have like little bits of a little bit of the Chiefs here, right? I do a little bit of what the Vikings do here with the talented wide receivers. I got the mobile quarterback, right? We take a little bit of what Baltimore does over here and a little bit what the Chargers are doing. Everyone's taking from each other. The San Francisco 49ers are one of the only teams in the league that are their own thing. No one can replicate what San Francisco does, and that makes it really hard to prepare for.
Yeah, they're almost impossible to prepare for because as long as they can run the ball consistently and then be able to stop the run with 7 guys, they're going to keep themselves in every single situation, every single game. It's a formula that's worked since the beginning of time. This is just kind of the way football works. The 49ers are built to be a very good football team. But yes, they're a matchup issue for the Green Bay Packers. But that's all predicated on the 49ers going and getting it done. Because just because you say someone matches up well, it doesn't mean those matchups are going to show up well. Because
do they have to execute?
They do have to execute. And that was part of the problem with the 49ers Week 3 loss to the Green Bay Packers. They did not execute. They left plays on the field. They made mistakes. Those are things you can't do again. Don't give Aaron Rodgers any sort of a chance. Go in there and take it from him. And I think bully ball is the way to do it. You go in there and you execute this run game. You get it going. And I think that Green Bay will give Jimmy Garoppolo some opportunities to find open receivers. And these playmakers have to make plays after they get the ball. But we've seen Jawan Jennings come onto the scene. Deebo Samuel's been playing at an all-time high. And I think
BA too.
Yeah, well, he's been playing great. And I think George Kittle's due. I think this is George Kittle's game. I think he's going to be due. And he's going to want to put the 49ers over the top. So, yeah, I think Ryan Clark is right. This is just a really good football team. And I think if they beat the Green Bay Packers, they'll get the respect that they deserve. I think that's when all the pundits will say, you know what, the 49ers are just a really, really good football team.
Hey, but you got to go take care of business against the Green Bay Packers, Ant. You got to show up in a big way if you're the faithful. And Ant, speaking of showing up in a big way, if you're the faithful, take a look at C.J. Spillman and good old Boobie Dixon repping the red and gold at AT&T Stadium. I love seeing former 49ers players bang, Niner ganging it up.
Yeah, Tony Montana squad came out in support of the 49ers.
Big time.
I love this. I mean, how many teams do you see old players come back and rooting for their team in the stands? You just don't see this very often. I love this. These are two of the better special teams guys and two of the better guys that the 49ers had on their team. We were just talking about Spillman the other day and how he played as a gunner. And really, he was a big impact in Harbaugh's first season, especially. And so I think this is very cool. This is something that was fun to see. You had Larry Grant, a former player, commenting on this as well. There's a lot of 49ers love, and I think that is something that can keep getting fostered in this organization. The 49ers can keep building on that, and this is a really cool moment.
And we need more of it, right? We need all of the support, all of the fan base showing up. Former player, I don't care who it is. Faithful, show up in a big way on Saturday. This team needs it. This is going to be a tough matchup. This is going to be one of the tougher matchups the Niners have had all year. And guess what, Ant? If you somehow find a way to go into Lambeau Field and come out with a W, it most likely isn't getting any easier because you're playing either an NFC West opponent after that or Tom frickin' Brady and then you don't know what's going to come out on the other side. But already you're looking at a situation where you're going to have Bills, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes on the other side of that, Ryan Tannehill on the Tennessee Titans, who you've already lost to, or the Bengals, a team that, you had to go into OT in order to beat. I mean, right? That's the reality of the situation. No matter what, the path to a Super Bowl is going to be extremely, extremely difficult, but this team is built for these kind of moments. It's built for tough games. It's built for, having to overcome adversity. We've overcome it all season long. Why not the 49ers?
Why not? I mean, that's all you had to do is get a ticket to the dance, right? Now you go in there and you make things happen. They broke dance and got that Dallas Cowboys out of there. But now can they dance a circle around the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers? That's a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I don't know if Jimmy Garoppolo's moves from Step Up part 2, but he's gonna have to get out there and make things happen. Stir it up in Green Bay and Lambeau Field. But yeah, this is something that the 49ers are built for. We've been talking about this for a long time. The things that travel in the playoffs, run game, defense, all those things the 49ers do. And Jimmy Garoppolo, as many flaws as he has, because he has flaws and he's made mistakes, he still converts in third down at a very high level. And he moves the sticks when they need it. And they're going to need it in this game. They're going to need to keep the ball. They're going to need to keep Aaron off the field.
That's right.
So I think that they're still built to be able to win in the playoffs. I think, in fact, they're built more to win in the playoffs than they are to actually win in the regular season. It's a different animal. And I think when things start getting, you saw what Dallas had to do to try to stop the 49ers run game. Holding, illegal hands to the face. They pretty much tried every single, little trick they could, because they couldn't allow these 49ers linemen to get to the second level.
8 guys in the box. I mean, I saw one play where they literally had 5 guys on one side, on the strong side of the 49ers line of scrimmage, and the Niners still tried to run that way anyway, because what was Kyle trying to establish? You can put 5 guys over there, that's fine. But if my 5 guys execute right here, it ain't going to matter. It doesn't matter how many guys you put over there. The way I have this blocking scheme schemed up, the way we have it, there's going to be an opportunity in a hole for either Elijah to get through or Deebo, if it's Deebo back there, to get through. He trusts their eyes, he trusts their vision, he trusts the way that they run, and he trusts his guys to make those blocks. So even if you load up and put 8 guys in the box, even if you stack the strong side of the line, Kyle is going to make your guys go out there and prove it. He has, it is almost unwavering confidence in this team, in this O-line, in his quarterback, in his running backs, to go out there, call it, right? Make sure that knowing that Jimmy's going to put them in the right position, whether he's going to Oscar it, whether he's going to can it, kill it, whatever it's going to be, his line to go make the blocks they need to make, and his running backs to hit the hole and find the gap in the crease needed to get the yardage you need.
Yeah, you have to have confidence as a play caller. If you don't have confidence in your guys are going to go get it done, you're going to call scared games. You're going to make mistakes. You're not going to trust your instincts. And that's what happens every single time you have your entire set of skilled players out there, is you feel the confidence to be able to run whatever you want. And you know that your guys can go out there and execute it. And if you don't feel like those guys can go out there and execute it, don't have it in your play sheet, don't have it in your game plan. So every play that Kyle Shanahan calls, he knows that they can get it done. And you're right, running into that is perfect, because sometimes you can just go in there and set a mentality of bully ball. And the other is it sets up other opportunities. Oh, you want to stack this side? We're going to hit you with the cutback right now. We're going to hit you with a little counter play in this gap scheme, and we're going to take advantage of you. And that's what they did in this game. You saw Deebo. He had never ran that play, and he caught a pitch on the outside, and then he cut back against the grain underneath, and he got over a 10-yard gain. Those are explosive plays that change football games. So it's been well done by Kyle Shanahan. I expect nothing different from him against Green Bay. The only thing is, what set of plays will it be this time? What formations and what personnel groupings will he put together to put Green Bay in situations that they're going to struggle to overcome? It's going to happen. Let's just see what the 49ers do. And if the first drive against Green Bay looks anything like it did against Dallas, I'm going to start feeling more comfortable about the 49ers versus Green Bay Packers.
100%, Ant. But one day at a time, right? One moment at a time, one practice at a time, one installation period at a time. It starts today. We'll see what news comes out of Tuesday. We'll see what guys are healthy. Cutback crew, let us know what you thought about all of this information down below right now in the comments section. And while you're commenting away on Jimmy's shoulder, Kyle's comments, the Niners being a bad matchup, or, just Fred and Bosa and what's going on with all of them, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Become the newest member of the Cutback crew and hit that notification bell. That way you don't miss any glorious content on this channel all week long.
Yeah, exactly. This is going to be a fun week. It's a playoff week. I'm excited for all of it. And I'm just excited about the opportunity the 49ers have. That's all you're looking for, is an opportunity. And right now, every 49er fan should be happy. I know that there was negative that came out of that game, and we can dwell on that negative. Or we can look at the fact the 49ers won a football game, a very contested game. I mean, Joe Montana wasn't perfect in all the games that he played in. But in the end, sometimes the team has to pick you up and get a win. But the next time, Joe Montana would do something great. It's time for Jimmy Garoppolo to do something great and help the 49ers beat Green Bay. So yeah, I'm calling Jimmy out. Let's do it. Let's get it done. I believe he likes that sort of thing, and I believe he can do it. So let's go, Jimmy. Get it done. Help us beat Green Bay.
Help us beat Green Bay and head on over to the 49ers Cutback shop, Ant, so you can get some 40 freaking Niners merch and Cutback Crew merch. Rep the Cutback Crew in Lambeau if you're going to be there, if you're going. And if you're not, and you just want to rep the Niners, get yourself one of these nice 40 freaking Niners shirts, Ant, because I don't know if they know this, but the 40 freaking Niners are in the divisional round of the playoffs, Ant.
Yeah, I mean, that's where you want to be, right? The divisional, the only thing that's better about being in the division is getting to the NFC Championship game. But you're one game away from that. You're one game away. And so I think that they can be excited. And the cool thing is the 49ers play on Saturday. So the 49ers are able to get a victory against Green Bay. We'll get to sit back and watch that game between Tampa Bay and whether it's the
Rams or the Cardinals.
Rams or the Cardinals. It's going to be an exciting matchup, and I'm curious who ends up winning that game. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be exciting. Cutback Crew, we'll see you on the next one. And until then, stay safe.
Remember, the right way
is always the 49ers way.